What I needed.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming in and checking out Cosmic Connections live interviews. Tonight we have an amazing guest. We have Ina Maka. I'm hoping I say it correctly. She is a wonderful sound healer, a medicine woman, an energy worker, which, you know, I'm all about the energy working, so I'm excited about tonight. As well as I think she does natural femininity. She's a guide for the Feminine Collective, which I'm also interested about. So please get in, get comfortable, and let's start. Hi, Ina. How are you?
Please, I'm great. Thank you guys for having me. How are you today?
I'm doing great as well too. Kai and I have been talking about, you know, having you on, and we're super excited to just connect with you and learn more about what it is that you do, and you know what we can learn from you and what our audience can learn from you. So please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started, what your journey was like, I guess, getting started into spiritual work or spirituality.
Yeah, so for me, I was always a black sheep. I was kind of born into my family as a late bloomer. So my parents had me when they're like 30. My dad was like almost 40. My mom was 30. But his children were older. The whole situation was kind of like a new situation for them. And so I just kind of isolated because all of my siblings were a lot older and really got into a lot of reading. And by the time I was like 13, 12, I really understood that I was quite different. I didn't subscribe to Christianity. I wanted to find something that really worked more for me. So I looked into Buddhism and I started walking upon that noble path and started meditating, kind of retreating into the woods and just taking more time for myself and doing a lot of reflection like work. And even within that, like honoring the fact that a lot of people are disconnected to nature. So around the teenage years, that was like my first kind of awakening. I wouldn't call it my great awakening, but my first awakening to honor that most people were not in alignment with their lives and that I wanted to be more in alignment. So when I went to college, I got more into just kind of socialism and learning about my heritage, tracing my roots. So I actually went to Alabama and went to speak with my great grandmother and talked about how we were Native American and how we had different bloodlines and just really relearning myself. And it really didn't, like, my journey really didn't propel until I put all those things together. Like, I really blame the universe, honestly, because everything kind of just clicked at the same time. So one of the biggest things that propelled my journey was I had an abortion when I was in college. So I met a guy, I was interested in him. It was a decent relationship, got pregnant. He wasn't ready. I thought I was ready, had an abortion. And that made me realize that I had so much built up in my womb space. So that abortion kind of spiraled me into depression. And I was like, what's going on? I was like, people do this all the time. Like, why am I impacted in this manner from something that I deemed as normal, right? So I started to do research. And at that time, like, I think this was like 2015. So that, you know, the conscious collective wasn't really as abundant as it is now. Like, everybody kind of understands now, right? So I was really looking for some type of guidance, and it was very difficult. But of course, you know, the first one that most people find is Queen Afua. So at the age of 20, I found Sacred Woman, and I started going through the pathways, and I started learning more about myself, and I started understanding like why the womb was so important. That was a huge part of my journey. And then I did a 14-day detox. I did a 14-day fast. And so during that fast, I lost my mind because, of course, not eating for 14 days, anybody gonna lose their mind. But I guess I found my mind as well, because during the 14 days, my ancestors came to me. Like, on the 12th day, my ancestors were like, keep going, keep going, keep going. This is the clarity you need. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And so I kept going. On the 14th day, I just remember like sitting on the floor crying and releasing and not knowing where all this pain and all this stagnation, all these feelings and emotions really came from. But then realizing like it's bigger than me. This is bigger than me. This is deeper than me. This is wider than me. This is something that I couldn't conceptualize at the time. And then right after that fast, I met this Rasta brother that brought herbs to my house and taught me how to cook alkaline food, like literally 2 days after. Like I ordered the herbs from him and he popped up at my door instead of sending them. He popped up at my door like God sent him and brought me the herbs and was like, what are you working on right now? And I was like, I want to change my life. I want to change how I'm eating. I want to change how I'm living. And he was like, I can teach you how to cook alkaline food. I can teach you how to be vegan. I can teach you how to make your own sea moss. I can teach you all these things. So I kind of studied under him for a few weeks and was working on products. And that helped me birth my first line, which was called Queen of Everything, which was a womb healing line. It had feminine energy products. We had different oils. We had candles. We had yoni eggs, t-shirts, and things like that. And yeah, that was kind of the beginning of it. And then that was, I guess, my first awakening. And then boom, 3 years later, getting pregnant. That was my second great awakening because I, for whatever reason, once again, kind of forgot about the importance of my womb space and wasn't honoring it and wasn't really standing my ground on my boundaries of what I expected as a woman. And pregnancy reminded me that it's so important to, first of all, nourish yourself and nurture yourself prior to wanting to have children. And I think that if a lot more women take time to like really learn themselves prior to birthing children, it can make raising and rearing children a lot easier because postpartum is a war. And most of us don't have the tools or the weapons to prepare ourselves for it. Most people assume that postpartum depression is normal. It's really usually like a deficiency. It's usually a lack of support. So yeah, those are my, I guess, 3 different levels to self. And I, even within that, like I feel another awakening coming. So I'm grateful for that.
Yes, that's amazing. And as we know, there's multiple awakenings that we have throughout this lifetime and even after. It's a never ending process or infinite process. And so that's amazing though. And I guess one question that I do have, if we can backtrack to you having that fast, that 14-day fast, and you were saying that your ancestors were basically encouraging you to keep moving forward. When it came to that space, did you already have a relationship with your ancestors and your spirit guides and stuff like that, or did you, or was that how you were introduced to, your ancestors, or having that relationship with your ancestors, if that makes sense?
So, like I said, pretty unconventional. I remember being like 4 or 5 and having a nanny. My family's military background, so I had a nanny when I lived in Panama. My nanny kind of taught me about hoodoo. So I remember like carving candles and learning a little bit about hoodoo from her, not from my parents, not from anybody in my family, but from her. And not understanding why she was really teaching me that, but now understanding because I was a melanated woman, it was important for me to know. So I kept a little bit of that throughout my whole life. Like I feel like I've always practiced hoodoo. I feel like I've always had some type of ancestral connection, even if it was just dreams or just intuition. I didn't start having an ancestor altar until I think right before the fast, honestly. I think everything literally lined up. So it wasn't even really a full ancestor altar, but I had like this white desk in my room. This was the time I was in college, so I literally only had one room. Everything was in my one room. So I had a little desk next to my bed, my bookshelf, and I had like a green Ankh candle, a white tablecloth, and like some crystals, and probably like a cup of water. Just like the most basic altar setup. No pictures, no names, no nothing. But I remember I kept that water clean. I usually light the candle if I felt some type of energy. And I would pray there. I would sit there and pray, and I would also work there. Like I would do a lot of my work there. So that was my first get it out the mud ancestor altar. And so when people talk to me about wanting to increase their intuition, I always say talk to your ancestors. And if you don't know where to start, just start. Start with a cup of water. Start with a white cloth. Start with a candle. Start with a Bible. And I know a lot of us like think, oh, well, I'm detached from Christianity, but your ancestors are not, and they're not going to. You're not going to convince your great grandma to detach from Christianity. So to honor them and to respect them, to utilize the toolage that they are comfortable with, that's one way to connect with them, which is why I love hoodoo, because it connects both worlds. It connects the ATR world with the Christian world, because that's how we survived. We survived by being able to infuse our knowledge into what they were trying to bury us with. So without these different practices, we would not have this vibrant ATR practice or this vibrant even voodoo practice, because the saints we converted, the angels we converted all of that. We are in a people that know how to be fluid and know how to change. So within that, honor and respect like your ancestors. First of all, don't come to them trying to teach them. Come to them humble enough to be like, okay, I'm gonna meet you where you are, because they can do a lot of big things with you. And start where you are. Like if you only have one name, use that one name. If you don't have any names, you can call on the benevolent ancestors of my bloodline, those that are here for me and for my way to be shown, for my path to be shown, those that walk with me and carry me, those that have the bone of my bone and blood of my blood. And I think that will help a lot of us bridge those gaps, because we come from so many places. There's a lot of different practices. There's a lot of different ancestral trauma, but there's always a candle and there's always water and white will always represent purity. So that's something we can all agree on.
Agreed. And I agree with that, because that was when I did the same thing when I started off on my journey. And I think that, not even I think, my first ancestor reading I received was from Yaya Richardson. And she was the first person. She's like, you know what? Her message was just like, it hit home. And I was like, oh man, I really got to connect with them, because I need their help. But basically she had also instructed me to do the water, the white cloth, and the white candle. And that's when everything shifted. That's when my journey just within that week. So I hear you when you say everything just kind of lined up and just kind of propelled from there and accelerated from there, because I didn't ask them for anything. I didn't ask them for anything materialistic. I just thanked them for their protection and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's also important to remember, that they're not just genies in a bottle, and that, and they are our bloodline. They love us. They have a different kind of love for us. And we're not to use them or to view them as like some like simple workers. You know what I mean? So I definitely think that just making it simple. Just, we all got white candle. You can get a white candle. You can get a white cloth. You can get not the white water, but you can get some water. You know what I'm saying? So I love that. So when it comes to ancestry, or just like, how did you come into the knowledge or to the awareness that you had this path of it? Or when did you come to understand that your path was directing you towards shamanism?
Honestly, just the reoccurrence of the need. Just people being around me that needed it. And then me having the toolage to be able to give it to them. So I still don't claim to be a shaman at all. I really don't claim to be that. And within that, probably even 60 years from now, I probably won't claim to be that. And most shamans that I've ever met don't really even claim to be that, honestly. But just really the need. Like, I remember being with people that needed meditation and needed to learn about themselves, and me being able to give them that little piece and that take them so much further. I remember being, even prior to meditation, I remember being with people that needed to eat. And so me being able to cook a certain meal and it be vital or idle food, or it be vegan food or alkaline food, and then being able to take that and utilize that to change their lives. I remember utilizing sound for mothers and for children and for families, and that expanded. And even in this work and the space I'm in now, like the medicine work is the same thing. I know people that need it. And so it would be a disservice of me as a human to not have access to certain things and not give it to people that need it. And I feel like that's the difference between the consumerist spirituality and the spiritual walk. It's like, if there's a need, I fulfill that need. And as soon as there's enough people in that need, I kind of humbly bow out. So I think that most people are like, oh, you keep starting and stopping. You can't run a business like that. And it's like, this is not a business for me. This is my walk. This is my path. And at the end of the day, I'm never going to compete. So if it's 3,000 people doing something, then that community doesn't need me to do that right there. Even if I deem myself as the best or whatever, they might not need me. It might be my job to help guide these people to this path, or even teach them how to do these things, or even mentor, but they might not need me in that type of capacity. So really just honoring the need is really just how you find your purpose. And within your purpose, like thriving in it is just doing it in your most authentic way. And that's how I knew it was for me, because nobody really showed me how to do any of these things. It was one of those things where literally I was guided to it by spirit. Like spirit would literally drop things on my head and be like, you have to do this. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. That sounds like a lot of work. It's like, nope, you got to do this. And so I listen, and then I keep going with that. And then spirit's like, okay, you can stop, you can rest, or you need to, isolate. I just really just listen to spirit. I listen to my community. I listen to spirit. I talk to my ancestors quite often. I cry a lot about a lot of things because I understand like our world is shifting rapidly, and a lot of people don't take healing seriously. Like healing is very serious on a very cosmic level, because whatever you don't heal in this time and space is going to keep reincarnating into the universe. Not even just you and your family, the universe. So if you want to have less trauma, if you want to have less karmic debts, you have to change who you are, and you have to help change the people around you, and you have to really help everybody around you to birth these new beings. I know a lot of people that want to do this work, but they don't want to help people. And that's the first thing. You have to want to help people, regardless if they can pay you, regardless if they can show up and give you a review or whatever. You have to just want to help people. And so that's the space I've been in, and I'm grateful to be in that space and navigate in that space.
Ashe, and that's so true, and it's very important. I think, especially what we were talking about the other day, just talking about authenticity and understanding that, for one, is like none of us are perfect. None of us are going to have every T crossed and every I dotted. This is a journey of evolving and being aware and learning new things. So, we're going to make mistakes. It's not going to be it's not a straightforward path, right? And so we taking our lives and using them as the example of what can be or what possibility looks like, and so I think that just you being in that space of being vulnerable to put your life out there, being on that path of just, no matter what it looks like, no matter what it seems, no matter, it doesn't matter what people think about it, because we're all projecting our own, we're all looking through life in different color shades of glasses, rose tinted glasses to a degree, right? So I think that just you operating in that space to where you are giving people rawness, because a lot of people clean it up, and it makes it to where it's not realistic. And so I honor you for that, and I thank you for that, because it's just necessary for us to have people out there who are showing their vulnerabilities, showing that they're not perfect, and being out there, because that's what's real. What's raw is real, and we clean it up and we make it look nice, and people forget that there's a lot of stuff that's going on in the background that you might not even know about.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. I think that's the biggest part that I want more spiritual leaders to lean into, honestly, is like that authentic, raw truth. Is one thing to, like you said, present a polished whatever so you can gain certain attributes or followers or whatever, but it's not like that. Like, and I think for a while I tried to make my social media so like perfect. Like I remember when I first kind of started doing social media, I was married, I had the children, we were all wearing the same colors, and I was getting content and planning photo shoots and just like treating it like a job, right? And it was cool. I was getting brand sponsorships and people were following, and it was great. And then boom, my marriage was ending, and who cares about linen shirts and matching outfits when you're literally having to transform your whole life from having this one situation to this other situation? Who cares about having the aesthetics when you have to reconfigure who you are and find yourself? And I think that's the biggest thing. It's just like people think that overall the most important thing is aesthetics, and it's like, nah, the foundation is important, because when things get rocky, if your foundation is trash, everything's gonna fall down. So really having those tools, I really want everyone to have toolish to utilize, because life is never going to stop lifing. Like, even in the space I am in now, as a practitioner, as a medicine woman, life be life, and there's always something happening. I'm just like, all right, let me go pray. Let me go light a candle. Let me do let me do the spiritual bath. And it's times when I don't do what I'm supposed to do, and I'm like, all right, I'm getting beaten in the head. Let me really do what I'm supposed to do. Because life is never going to stop lifing. People assume like, oh, if I'm walking this path and I'm cleansing my karma, it's going to get easier. Nah, baby, it get harder and harder and harder and harder. The higher up you get on that mountain, you start losing your breath. So you have to remember to return. And I say that quite often, like, return to the breath, because that's your tether. That will always keep you tethered and grounded. It's been times I didn't have a sound bowl, a sage stick, a candle, but I had my breath. And that's all I could utilize, was to keep me grounded, was breathing and standing in breath and remembering there's different types of breaths and there's different ways to breathe. So yeah, just really having the toolkit for you to excel in your life. Like, if you can't excel in your normal life, there's no such thing as a spiritual life where it's a difference. Like, it, and I think that's what's been happening. Is like, people have this great divide where it's like, I show up this way and then I show up this way. And you can't have that. Like, yes, duality is great, but at the end of the day, you have to be authentic. So who are you? The duality is who you are. And if you show up this way, in this way, combine it and show us all of you so we can see it and love it and pour into it. Because honestly, I think if more people felt like they're good enough, or felt like their authentic selves was good enough, more people would show it. More people would show it. And then we would have real people in the world versus what we kind of are working with right now. So yeah, thank you for highlighting that. I want to see more of that, and I encourage it. Like, I really encourage women to do it more, even our men to do it more, and have honest, vulnerable conversations. Because as human beings overall on this planet, like, all of us are traumatized. We all are working through trauma. No one's better than another person. I have people talk to me all the time. Like, when I get to this place, I want to be like you. Like, no, you don't want to be like me. Trust me. You don't want to be like me. At the end of the day, you want to be the most authentic version of you, because the most authentic version of you is probably better than me. It's probably more powerful than me. It's probably more vibrant than me. So it's no point of, aspiring to be like anybody but yourself. Like, you are the most magical thing on this planet, because you are you. And that's our superpower, is like being ourselves and thriving in it and walking in it. And regardless of that, being able to also understand that you have the power to change who you are any day. Like, you can wake up tomorrow and be like, nah, I don't want to be that no more. And that's your right. I could wake up tomorrow and be like, you know what? Tired of this spiritual stuff. Gonna go do something else. And that's your right. And so I think that we have to get out of this box of spirituality looking like one thing or looking like another thing. It's like, as a being with breath, you are a spiritual being. Even if you're wearing a suit, even if you're in a clown suit, I don't know, whatever you got on, you still are a spiritual being. Okay? So don't let people tell you because you're not wearing all white or dashiki that you're not in tune with your spirituality or your consciousness, because that's just a costume. And honoring the fact that you don't have to wear a costume to be you, or know yourself, or have an ancestor altar, or pray. You don't have to wear a costume to do that. You can show up however you want to show up. You can have all the superpowers you want to have and no one know. And that's truly the gift, because a lot of the sisters I know that put that work in, you wouldn't even know it.
So true. So true. That's so powerful. And I just love that, because, and I support that too. And I just like, I encourage that, because like you said, it's our superpower to be who we are. There's no one on this planet that has that vibrates at your specific frequency, or can emanate that vibration that you give off. You know what I'm saying? That's specific to you and only you. And you having that is power within itself, And so I think that as we, evolve, and as we basically, like, for instance, platforms like this, like my platform, that's what I'm basically wanting to encourage and put out there. Like, we have so many spiritual leaders that are not necessarily leaders, but they're more of, they're like, oh, I'm going to pick this looks nice, this looks good, and I'm going to put it on, and I know this because I've been studying it and I've been reading it, and so I'm going to give it because I have the knowledge, but they have no inner standing. You know what I'm saying? And so it makes it very hard for a lot of individuals to operate in their authenticity because they're thinking that it's this all love and light type of thing, and it's not.
Yeah.
You know, I tell people all the time, especially my clients, my mentees, like, look, I'm not your typical mentor. Okay, you're not gonna see me trying to have everything all perfect and this and that. We're gonna roll with it. We're gonna have conversations. I'm gonna give you what's real and what's raw, because my point in you know, my way of helping you evolve is getting you to love yourself in order for you to operate in your authenticity, embrace who you are, the flaws and all, the ups, the downs, you know what I'm saying? And just take life in its entirety and look at the beauty in all things.
Yeah.
You know, so I love that you said that, because I think that it's very important that we understand that rawness is the truth. That's where your power lies, in that rawness. And we're so guarded trying to be perfect when we can't be.
I think she hit it on the head when she was like, we feel like that's, I think, to me, I look at the human condition as having the same problem. It's that not good enough problem. You know what I mean? And that's what makes you be less in your authenticity and more in the, it's supposed to look like this and I need to be like this and this needs to be happening like that. And it's always, everything relates back to not good enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so when you can stand in that authenticity, you're able to provide, you know, the people who need it with that rawness that you're talking about. And it's good to be able to see that you, okay, this person is impactful just being, just being. No, you know what I mean? Just being, because we're all impactful with just being. We don't need to look a certain kind of way or do a certain kind of way, a certain kind of way in order to be impactful, in order to advance in your own spiritual journey, and as well as help others while they're evolving in their spiritual journey, if that makes any sense. So I definitely agree that rawness is necessary and it's beautiful, and it's refreshing to see.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really, really, really something that we all gotta lean into. I think that's really what I love about even this space right now, is you guys showing up as you are, being very raw, being authentic. And it's, like I said, the whole community has to see these type of spaces, these type of women, these type of connections, because at the end of the day, we have to thrive in that. I'm kind of over this whole facade era. Like the last 5 years has been really like, wow, like people are painting perfect pictures, and it's just like, nothing's ever going to be perfect. And that's what makes it so perfect. That's what makes it so perfect.
Exactly. And that's the thing about being, is just being, you know, we're not trying to be something, where it just is what it is kind of energy. You know, it's not like, I'm not, you know, it's you not trying to paint a picture to fit like somebody else. It's you being you without trying to shove and push and force and this. You like, just, you got to rest in who you are, rest in, you know, knowing that you are enough and that you are worthy of being here, because you're here for a reason, and everything here has purpose. Everything here on this planet has purpose, is here for a reason, you know, and you wouldn't be here if you weren't special, you know.
Definitely agree. I actually wanted to, if you don't mind, pivot a little bit, and I want to hear more about this natural femininity guide, and what does that mean exactly?
Yeah, no worries. So like I said, raw, authentic. One of the journeys that I went through within becoming a mother was honoring the fact that I didn't know much about femininity. I kind of thought that it looked a certain way, but I didn't really fit into that category. So I've always kind of considered myself a tomboy, kind of rough, just not that typical feminine energy. Like, I don't like to shave. I'm not like a pretty girl. But when I went to college, I kind of tried to fit into that category. And I kind of flipped back and forth with it, just because I saw that's like what guys liked, right? They liked the pretty girl, the makeup, all these different things. So as I entered motherhood, I was feeling my most feminine. Like I was feeling super, super in touch with my feminine energy. Like my intuition was on point. Really thriving in that motherhood aspect versus like that maiden aspect. Because, you know, we have those different types of tiers where it's like, okay, the maiden is the one that wants to get saved and wants the men to be flaunting over them. And they're just kind of ditzy and just living life. And the mother is like, yeah, mother bear, intuition, wise woman. So I feel like I didn't really have my maidenhood, but I thrived in my motherhood. But within my partnership, my partner was telling me I was very masculine. He was like, you're super masculine. Because I had boundaries. Like I had strict boundaries. It wasn't anything you could communicate. I was very receptive. So I wasn't like trying to be all over him. So I started doing research about it. So like stemming from arguments, I just started doing research about it. And then we did like a tantra class together, and we actually got certified in tantra together and worked through that. And I realized I was very feminine, actually. Like I was like 98% feminine energy, because there's like a lot of emotions, a lot of water. Like I said, the intuition aspect, like the lunar aspect, like I was very, very feminine, to the point where I had to realize that femininity is chaotic. Femininity is bold. Femininity is wise. It's wild as well. It's not something that's this pretty little picture that you can kind of like, it's not this trophy wife. It's not all these things that I guess the media tries to act like it is, right? So after doing a lot of research and kind of thriving in that, I started reading books more about it. And I started talking to more women about it. And I started holding womb circles about it. And that kind of led to me being able to sit and guide other women towards it. So for a little bit of time, I was actually working on doing mentorship and speaking to women about femininity, speaking to them about moving their bodies so they could tap more into their womb wisdom, speaking to them about how to pour into their womb by yoni steaming, by doing womb prayers, by doing womb cleansing, speaking to them about balancing their energy and what foods to eat that make you feel more feminine, what colors to wear to make you feel more feminine, speaking to them about the realistic characteristics of feminine energy and what a healed feminine felt like. And so I did that for a short period of time, because I realized like, yo, this is hard work, and it was something difficult for me to do virtually, just because I felt like it wasn't as, like I said, the raw. Like it wasn't as raw. I couldn't really see them. I couldn't really touch them. I couldn't really talk to them. Something I was just on the phone chatting with them about, and I didn't feel like it was like life changing. So I decided to turn that guidance into a group, and then the group got boring for me because once again it was still virtual. Then I decided to turn the group into a retreat. So within that birth, the feminine frequency retreat, because I realized within that femininity was bigger than just an energy. It's a frequency. It's a wave that hits your body. It's a resonance. And so within that, I also honor the fact that when you're around other women that are okay with leaning into their feminine energy, it vibrates through every single woman in the room. So we had a retreat in Mexico this last year called Feminine Frequency, and the real focus of it was freedom. It was freedom. It was exploration. It was movement. It was womb conversations. We talked about yoni eggs. We talked about, we created a song from our womb. So we allowed our womb to sing a song and communicate with us. We moved our bodies. We twerked. We put on the little jingle bells and did some like, hip movements. We went on a private yacht and just lived and ate delicious foods and fruits that were great for the womb and womb health. And we also had some open and honest conversations. And I think the first thing about honoring your feminine energy is honoring the fact that having women around you, like I said, is the first thing that really can change your feminine energy. Like a lot of us, especially if we work in masculine environments. A lot of us, if we have partners, right, and we, if you have a partner that's a woman, it might even be a woman that's a little bit more masculine, right? So we usually have a counter type of energy, or we have a man that's a partner. So we're usually around men, or we're usually around men-dominated societies, or we're usually in these spaces that revolve around what men want and what men deem as beautiful or whatever. But when we're with our sisters, it's a completely different story. It's more about the freedom. It's more about expression. And we're allowed to kind of tap into the maidenhood again. And like I said, the maidenhood is that giggly kind of space where it's like you have that freedom to just be and you're not worried about fitting in. And and it's kind of immature, and it's fun, and it's something that a lot of us don't get to be in quite often because we have to show up with so many hats and so many roles and so many things, and we're so worried about if we don't do these things then we're not a good woman, or we're not a good mother, or we're not a good sister. And so really relinquishing that and tapping into the freedom of femininity has been what that's really been about. And even bigger than that, relearning your womb space. I think that, first of all, like I said, being with women is very, very important, but also being by yourself and working with your womb. So another thing that I noticed with most sisters that I work with is they have some type of womb trauma, whether that be molest, rape, um, some type of postpartum, some type of issues with periods, some type of womb trauma. Like most of us have some type of womb trauma. And so within that, a lot of people don't take time to like rebuild that connection with your womb. A lot of us don't even speak to our womb. A lot of us only use our sacred area for masturbation or for sex. And then when we have our sacred time or our menstrual cycle, we're literally cursing our womb then, because it's like, oh my God, I can't believe like it's never anything positive. So just recreating that connection with our womb space and really re-honoring the fact that that's our most sacred portal as women. Like no other being on this planet has that portal. So as women, we have to really take it seriously, first of all, and nourish it. Like the womb is so undernourished. Like we don't even eat foods that are good for it. We love bread, we love sugar, we love all these things that are terrible for our womb, right? We don't take care of her for real, but if we have any issues with her, we love to go then mess her up even more by taking antibiotics or taking birth control or going to the store and getting all these different Nair products or cleaning products or all these different things that aren't good for our womb health. And so really just reteaching women about like what's really good for their womb and how the womb can basically guide you to being a more feminine woman, because the womb is going to tell you that you need to move your energy around. The womb is going to tell you that that partner is not good for you. If you're getting a yeast infection or BV from your partner every time, that person's not good for you, right? But we will ignore that for some good. Like we will literally ignore it because that person feels good, but our body's telling us a completely different thing. So like really honoring the fact that that part of your body will be able to guide you if you listen, or she's going to shut up and shut down. And then we have women that have to get really early hysterectomies or have really painful menses, like I said, or even have like all these different conditions of the womb, because there's so many. And so yeah, that's the second part of the feminine frequency. And the third part within that is expressing yourself in a more feminine manner and not allowing society to deem what is feminine. I think that was the biggest reason why I really wanted to push feminine frequency, was because, like I said, I've been in multiple relationships and I've been in spaces where I was deemed as masculine just because of boundaries, like simply just setting boundaries. Or I've been deemed as masculine because I definitely know how to stand up for myself and defend myself, or deemed as masculine because I don't wear makeup or I might not wear a dress for a week or two. So really just reshaping that and talking to other women that maybe soft, like super, like, I mean, I'm talking to super soft women, like they're super compassionate, they're super emotional, they're super soft, they're super nurturing and nourishing. And just because they don't look a certain way, people are like, oh, she's masculine. And it's just like, this woman's a teddy bear. Like, she's the perfect mother. She's a cuddle partner. Like, she expresses herself in a nurturing way. She pours into people, but that's not the idea of femininity. So I just really kind of re-emphasize, like, our grandmothers were feminine, right? The muumuu wearer, the braids that would have you come over and cook you some food and rub on your head and help you with your homework and kiss you on your forehead. That is femininity. It does not have to look like a BBL and a crop top. Like, we have to really recreate what it looks like and feels like, and understand that we can't push this perfect image, like these Kim Kardashian cookie cutter images, and say that, oh, that's a feminine woman. Because that woman can be hard as a rock. She might not even take care of her children. You might go over there coughing and she won't even give you a glass of water. But you're calling that feminine because it's an hourglass shape. And that's not what femininity is about. It has nothing to do with a body type or how your hair looks, or if you're wearing a perfume, or if you cut your body hair or not. It has nothing to do with that. It's all about the energy, the frequency, the feeling. So yeah, I hope I answered your question because I kind of went on a tangent.
No, it's good. It's beautiful, and you're right. We really need to change, how femininities look like, and especially, I don't know, me personally, I've seen a lot of males try to tell me what a feminine. I'm like, sir, if you don't go sit down, if you don't go listen. And so we need to have more women talking to us about what it is. What does it mean to really tap into that? And does it look one way? And I find that it doesn't only look one way. We're fluid. And when we need to put those boundaries, that's okay. And that doesn't knock us out of our femininity. That's not how that works. You know what I mean? You can still defend yourself and still be feminine. You know what I mean? You don't have to sit there, oh, I'm sorry. That's crazy. Like, nah, especially, when you first started talking about, you was a talent boy. I looked at Kai because that's our story. Like, legit, it's the same story, and we had to learn, do those assessments within ourselves and make those adjustments where we need to, make those adjustments. But yeah, we have a lot of people telling us that are not feminine, telling us what femininity is. And I find that we need more women in those circles, in those spaces. And I love the way that you set up that retreat. I mean, I'm mad I missed it. You need to do another one because we need to have those spaces with other women and learn from each other. And I think it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. You were going to say something, Kai?
Yes. for one, I'm so glad that you touched on that. 2 points: the yoni, talking about just connecting with your yoni. I was going to ask you that, but you already talked about that, so I love that. And then even just femininity in general, and understanding that it isn't something that you can look at, but it's something that you can feel. You know what I'm saying? And so that's something that took me a long time to understand, because for myself, I was also very much a tomboy out in the streets. I like to get dirty. I'm not one of those like, oh, I'm not, I like to be working. I like to, you know what I'm saying? And so there was just this, it was hard for me to be like, okay, am I feminine or am I not, for a while, because I'm like, I'll go and play basketball with the boys if I want to. I'll go run a mile. You know what I'm saying? There's not a box that I can be put in to say that, what she does is like feminine or whatever the case may be. Like, nah, she's a jack of all trades, And I think that that's something that most of us need to understand, is that energy is something that you feel, and it's an internal knowing that you like, hey, that essence that you have, that energy that you emanate is nurturing and it's loving, and it's so many different things, but it's something that you feel internally, and we can't put a image on it.
Yes. And also I want to highlight a lot of the imagery from femininity comes from consumerism. So the powers that be want us to consume more and want us to think that femininity can be something that's bought in a box. If you buy this lipstick, if you buy this dress, if you do your hair this way. And so as an anti-consumerist, I have been very much like looking at all these different ways that we've been taught something that's so untrue. Like, and it's on so many different levels. So femininity is just one way, but something so untrue. You can't buy femininity. And that's why I even kind of walked away from doing the mentorship with the femininity. It's not something that you can buy. You have to really want to lean in it or not. And some women are completely okay with being masculine or more masculine or showing up in a more masculine space, right? And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. If you thrive as a woman that wants to be more masculine, that's fine as well. But I know women that want to tap into their femininity and think that if they don't subscribe to this thing, that they can never be it. And that's where, once again, we're looking at these ideas these ideals that create this kind of self-hate. And it's like, yo, I really want us to walk away from these borders and boundaries and boxes they've placed us in, because it's all for us to basically consume more things. It has nothing to do with the reality. It has nothing to do with the energetic way that the world works. It all is big business. So yeah, we are definitely gonna do another retreat next year. So I'll definitely send you guys the information about that. I think we're either gonna do it in Jamaica or St. Croix. And what it's gonna look like and feel like is a whole bunch of wild women being able to be themselves and being able to express themselves and be able to tap into their womb in a deep, deep, deep level. Like we're gonna go deeper than last time even. And so I'm super grateful to be able to hold these spaces, first of all, because it's something that I want for myself. Like I said, once again, I respond to needs. So I know I needed certain things. And if I don't already see it, I create it. And I think that's the most authentic space to be in. Is like, yo, I'm not looking at anybody else's model or mold. I know what I want for myself. I know what I want to feel. I know I want to be butt naked underneath a waterfall. So I'm going to do it and I'm going to bring 10 people with me. So that's kind of how I've been living. And honestly, it's been the most abundant way I want to live, because to me it's not even really about the money. It's about the connections and the experiences. Like I've had some of the most profound experiences. I've met some of the most beautiful women. I've had some of the most heart-shattering connections, and I want to continue to do that and build upon that. So I love that, like you even said, like we all have like similar stories as far as the tomboy energy. A lot of us have that story. And even within that, looking at your beautiful faces and like, y'all give me feminine energy. So of course, that's kind of my point. Is like people can say one thing and say, oh, you were this and you were that. It's just like that doesn't define femininity at all. Like the fluid energy is the feminine energy. The fact that you said you can do all things, that's a super feminine trait. Like being stuck in a box and being confined to all this one thing or this one way is actually very masculine. Like, so I think more people have to understand the characteristics and the traits of these different energies to honor what it is and what it looks like. Because like honestly, femininity is chaotic. Like the woman that's super chaotic and kind of like knocking stuff down and has to have it her way and then cries a little bit and then goes back into her rage. Like that's the goddess energy. Or sometimes she's calm, sometimes she's not. Like you never know what you're gonna get. Honestly, if we look at most of the goddess stories, that's that feminine energy. It's like she's a
Yes.
wave. She comes and goes. She has these powers. She attracts who she wants to attract. She wants to draw in what she wants to draw in. She isolates when she wants to. And so, like, I'm teaching also about that, like how to honor the goddess energy within yourself and not think that a goddess has to be this like stuck up stoic being that talks a certain way. And like nah, like sometimes a goddess will blow your head off or cut your head off. Like Kali Ma is
Alima.
me for sure.
We have Oya, we have Kalima, we have multiple. I think right now I'm reading a book about I think it's the 10 Moldavias.
Mm-hmm.
And that is exact, there's so many different archetypes to that divine feminine energy, but that feminine energy is the same throughout all. It just expresses itself differently, right? And like you were saying as well, about just connecting with other feminine energies is healing within itself. And me and Gia had this conversation some months ago. Just being in the presence of another divine feminine energy is healing, and it heals those mother wounds, and it allows you that space to operate in that feminine energy.
Yes.
Like you said, that energy transmutes to everyone that's in that space. And so I honor you for doing that, because it's so needed. And when I say that, I'm talking about that rawness. I'm not talking about the clean and cut version and everyone just like, oh, sipping their tea and stuff. Like, no, I'm talking about, you being wild, you being naked in the woods, you just expressing yourself in these different ways and truly embodying freedom.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That in itself is revolutionary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm grateful. I'm definitely grateful. Definitely grateful. And I think that even the rawness of like honoring all our different body parts and all of our different body shapes is really important. It's just been an amazing journey. Like I've definitely just seen so many people just thrive. Like even in our last retreat, we had one sister, like she looks super innocent. Like, I mean, like she has like a baby face, and she has like a super sweet voice. And by like the end of the retreat, she's like taking these boudoir pictures and like really like giving it like butt out posing. I'm just like, oh my God, like really, like, and even when she got back, she was telling us about like her experience and telling us about like her sensuality and how she's thriving in it. I'm just like, I love to see it because it's so much suppressed energy in us at times. Or like, once again, we have all these comparisons where we're thinking like, I need to look like this or feel like that. And even at times I've definitely had it, like within my postpartum body being like, oh, wow, this did not look like this. And this is over here. And it used to be up here. And it's just like, me having to really sit with that, especially on social media and showing up on social media. And there's so many different women that have these different bodies and all these different things. And I just really had to get over it and honor my wiggles and my jiggles and my dimples and my sags and all of those things, because it's beautiful. Like, it's so beautiful. Like, and I even had to like remind myself of like ancient sculptures and the bodies that were praised in the past. It's like, you don't see no BBLs back then. It ain't no BBLs. Them booties had dimples in them, and them booties was beautiful. And so, like, just honoring that energy, like, yo, that's a real body. Like, and no shame to the fake bodies, but that's a real body, and that's how God made it. And you have to really just honor and respect it, because God don't make no mistakes, like, ever. So I think that more women need to, like you said, tap into that raw energy. And I would love to see the confidence from more women in different spaces, right, in different shapes, because that's really important. Because that will help our children as well, right? Because when their mothers show up confident and their mothers show up glowing, then our children can thrive in that. And that's creating a whole new society. Because I know a lot of women have like issues as far as conforming, to certain stigmas. And I just really want to erase that, because men don't really even have that as much, right? We don't really have as many men going to get plastic surgery, or as many men like putting on fake hair a certain way. Like, we don't have that as much. So it's just really like seeing the women tap out of that energy. Because once again, it's the consumeristic way. Like, if women will focus more on how we can like nurture our families and how we can pour into our communities and not spend all this money on these other things, I think the world could really be different. But we have to start there, because I know we're the biggest consumers, right? So we're spending all the money on something that doesn't really matter, when we could be at home with our children. What, you working hard all day long to buy a body when you could be home with your children? It's just like, I really want us to tap out of that. Because then you got 60 years later and you're like, dang, I didn't even get to be there. So yeah. Also with the feminine frequency, like the womb work, I don't know if I mentioned Yanni steaming, but Yanni steaming and just like Yanni prayers. So something that I encourage a lot of women to do is like pray over their womb and pray over their Yanni. I think that is something that we haven't been taught to do. Like I said, that space is just not something we really tap into. It really, like, we only pay attention to it if we want to get some, or if we're about to have a period, or if our period's on. Like, other than that, if there's nothing happening there, we don't even pay attention to her. So I really really want women to really just tap into, like, within your prayer regimen, if you have one, incorporate a Yanni prayer like every day. Like, just, it can be super simple. Like, thank you for your creative energy and your juice and your flow and the way that you allow me to show up in the world. And trust me, when I say like your womb space, your Yanni space will start to open up certain gateways and start to kind of communicate with you more. Because the question I get quite often is like, how will I know she's speaking to me? It's like, you won't know until you start speaking to her and letting her know that you're receptive to hear. And it's not going to be like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen Big Mouth. It's a show on Netflix, but it's a terrible show. You shouldn't watch it, but it's funny. But on Big Mouth, they have like the body parts that speak to you, and it has its own voice, and like literally, like, anyway, it's not going to be like that. Because some people think like, oh, when I hear my ancestors, they're in my head, and it's 7 different voices, and they all got different characteristics. And sometimes it is like that for me. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Sometimes, like, I got a couple different voices, but sometimes it's my own inner voice, you guys. Sometimes it's my own inner voice. It's like a whisper of my own voice. So, or sometimes it's a reaction to something, or sometimes it's an angel number, or sometimes it's something like coming into my subconscious over and over again. So I just want more people to be aware about, like, communication from your body or from your ancestors doesn't always have to be auditory. It doesn't always have to be auditory. Sometimes it's you seeing something over and over again, or a spirit number, or angel number, or meeting a person. Like, sometimes it's even meeting a person. So just paying attention is the best way to really honestly go about it and using your intuition. Because that's a big question. But even within that, your womb communicating to you can be the same thing. So it could be literally like deja vu. It can be your stomach feeling away, or even your womb cramping up. It could be a lighter period. It can be so many different things in so many different ways. So just really be receptive for it. If you want to hear it, let her know you want to hear her, and then go forward with that.
Yes, and that's so true. I think that especially when it comes to, working with your yoni, for myself, I don't think my confidence didn't start hitting until I started working with her, until I started catering to her, until I started speaking to her. And I think that that's very important. I'm still going through my journey. I'm still learning a lot of things. A lot of things that I've learned are from personal experience. I do research, but it's not like it's not my number one thing. I like to learn through my experiences, right? And I think that one of those experiences that really changed the game for me was working with her. And I think that that's something that all women need to tap into, because I mean, I can't even explain. I was like, dang, I've been missing out this whole time. You know, you know what I'm saying? And so that's when the creativity started coming back. My sensuality started coming back. I'm saying, all of those things just started to return to me, and just feeling in that state of flow once I started clearing that energy within her. The yoni steamings, I used some yoni pearls, which I don't. What is your intake? What is your opinion on yoni pearls? The pearls.
I've used Johnny Pearls before, like super early in the game. Like I said, probably 2015, 2016. Not my favorite. Like between Yanni Pearls and like boric acid, I'm like, not my favorite. And I even stopped doing the Yanni eggs for a while, because I had this whole thing about like inserting something into her. Just because I feel like very much so we're intrusive as hell with our, can I cuss? Sorry. We're intrusive very much so with our yoni. Like, we're so intrusive. Like, we're constantly like shoving stuff in her, and we're not talking to her. And it's just like, oh, take this thing, take this thing, take this thing. It's just like, yo. So for a long time, I really didn't really like the yoni pearls. Nor did I like the yoni eggs, but I'm very much so like with like meeting people where they are. So if yoni pearls call out to you because you need that type of detox and you're called to that, cool. But I definitely have heard horror stories, because at the end of the day, people are like, yeah, I had all this discharge and all this stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, because you could be causing an infection because you're shoving something in you and it's sitting in there. So I really don't utilize that in this practice. I do internal cleanses, like I flush my body with detoxes. I utilize herbs, and I do yoni steams. Those are what I would do. If I have any type of pH imbalance, like let's say I get BV or a yeast infection, something really simple to do, a little like apple cider vinegar bath, like a little bit of apple cider vinegar in the bathtub, a drop of tea tree. It's really not hard to take care of these spaces, but I think they have once again created so many products for it. It creates confusion. Like, there's so many soaps for yanis and so many sprays and lubricants and all these different things, and it's just like, she's really simple.
It's
Coconut oil.
Yeah. Well, for myself, I usually I eat well, but I drink tea as well. Like, instead of like doing, like, for instance, instead of doing the yoni steam, I might drink it. You know what I'm saying? But I did use the pearls once, and it worked. It went well. I thought it did, but I never got them again. But I was like, that's cool. But I mean, like, it really did help though. But to each his own. I also thought the same thing, that putting things in there was just like,
yeah. I purchased it before, the little pearl. It's in my house somewhere. I never used it. I just couldn't bring myself to put something within me was just like, let's not do that. So it just sat there. I didn't use it. But so I would more so do like coming from a Haitian background, we more believe in steaming. That's the thing, and the herbs as well too. So that just seems like it sits well with me. But like you said, I purchased it. It just sat there. Yeah, I ain't do nothing with it. So that was just that. But I think that's super important. And we need to talk about that a lot more. So I appreciate you, educating us on that. And I love this term, anti-consumerist. I love that. I think that's beautiful. And I think women, listen, I ain't gonna pretend like I don't like to shop. Okay, I do. I'm a girl. I like girly things and all the pretty things, but we do need to be mindful of that, especially when they're selling us things that really hurt us. Like, people, like you said, you heard stories, horror stories of people who do these kind of things and then be like, oh, this is happening. Yeah, because it's not natural, right? So returning back to more natural based things is where we need to stay at. Yeah, everything sounds pretty and nice and quick and fast as well too. The need for things to happen right now kind of makes it so that we purchase. We don't take the time to be like, what herbs would do this and why that, and connecting with that nature. Nature is feminine. So if you want to be more feminine, connect with with nature, with Mother Nature, with Mother Earth. You know what I mean? That just makes the most sense. So yeah, I appreciate you really tapping into that because that's important as heck.
Thank you. We're about to put you on a team. That's our logo. That's it right there. That's all of it.
Yeah, awesome.
And I wanted to before, because I know that we're at our probably go for about another 15 minutes and then
okay.
Though, but I do have a question because I seen your post a couple weeks ago, and you were talking about the if you buy certain clothes, specifically from Shein, that you need a full lead, you need a full lead detox, and I was like, oh man, okay, can you explain that, please?
Yeah, for sure. Because I got a lot of smoke about that. It's crazy because I'm like, the stuff that I want to go viral never goes viral. The stuff that I don't want to go viral blows it up. I specifically want to speak about that because it's been highlighted. Like if you Google it right now about Shein and like lead poison and the toxins in the clothes, it's something that's online. Like they're not even really hiding it. And it's not just Shein. Like a lot of companies from China, like they just have a lot of chemicals in their clothing. Like the way that they produce their clothing, the way that they it's just fast fashion. Like the things they put in it leach into our skin, and now we're in a space where we have all these issues and all these cancers, and we're like, what's going on? It's like our skin is our biggest organ, so we have to be really, 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 really conscious about what we put on our skin. So I highlighted Shein because Shein is going crazy, and it's the holiday season, and I know so many sisters that buy so much Shein junk that literally, first of all, it disintegrates in like 3 months. That's the first thing I want to talk about. Why are we buying plastic that we put on that disintegrates in 3 months? You know it's going to be raggedy. You know it's not going to last. And it's terrible for us. It's terrible for the environment. It has to come all the way from China, all the way to our house in America, wasting all that fuel just to drop down for it to last for 3 months. And I mean, a lot of our clothing is like that. That's fast fashion for us. Like a lot of our clothing does not last. It can't hold up. You wash it 10 times. It's trash. It's trash. And then what we got to do? Buy more of it. And that's what I talk about being like an anti-consumer. Now, I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I'm working on it too. I still shop. Like Amazon got a chokehold on me. A lot of my Amazon purchases are definitely for my business, but it's some other things slid in there that I for sure could have got from a small business. But I'm definitely leaning into more of the anti-consumerism because first of all, there's plenty of small businesses suffering. There's plenty of small business clothing facilities, places that a manufacturer that's literally making clothing specifically for what you want, hand sewing it, taking time, folding it up, putting a hand tied tag on it that wants you to support them, but we won't because of a cheap price tag that once again, you're going to spend it 3, 10, 20 times over. And I think that's the biggest thing. Instead of just buying quality stuff one time and keeping it for 10 years, we rather buy something quick that first of all we won't even wear it next year. It won't last till next year. And it's a cycle. It's a cycle, and we get sucked into the cycle because everybody else is doing it. Everybody else is doing it, and it's trendy, and it's just like, yeah, nah. So I want to make a quote though. I have purchased from Shein because someone tried to come for me like, you never even got nothing from Shein. How you know about Shein? I have purchased something from Shein one time, and it was trash. And it smelled like toxic waste. Like it smelled bad. I opened the little zipper bag just to prove to y'all I bought it. A little zipper bag with the little Shein on it, and it smelled so bad that of course I washed it because it's another thing they said. You gotta wash your clothes. Of course I wash my clothes when I get brand new clothes. So I washed it. And it shrunk after washing it, and it didn't fit. And it just was bad quality. And I think it was like a shirt and a pants set. I kept the pants, but I ended up probably tossing them. And that kind of like even made me mad about spending that little bit of money once again, because it's just like, yo, what's the point? But overall, like, really just take time to look into what you're putting on your body. Like, okay, this right now, this is like a linen cotton dress. This dress is like probably about $100 dress, right? But I've had this dress for like 2 years. And within that, I feel like that's a good investment because this is something that I can continue to utilize. And I think most of us look at fashion as something like where it's in and it's out. But in reality, everything comes back around. Like literally, some of the stuff my mom was wearing, I wish I could have that, right? So how powerful would it be if we could literally pass some of our clothes on to our children and they not fall apart? And I think our generation doesn't think about that. But I know like one of the things my mom was super excited about, and not really super excited, but one of the things my mom was just really in a space where she was like, is a heartfelt moment, was like when my great grandmother passed and she got one of her hats, right? And who knows how old this hat was, but it stayed together, and it was something super important because she kept it in a little hat box. And I'm just thinking about our generation, like what we gonna pass on? Shein? We gonna pass on some Shein pants to our daughters? Like, so I just really want us to like look at the bigger picture versus just the small moment, the momentary feeling and joy that consuming does give us, because everybody gets it like, oh, I've got that new thing coming in, keep on checking it, I'm tracking it, it's coming soon. But if you think about the bigger picture, where first of all we could support small businesses and we could support people that we know or families that actually get a point or a portion of that money that we are giving to the world, also it's something that's good for our bodies. It's not something that's going to poison our bodies and leach into our bodies and cause cancer. Also, it's not doing damage to the world. Like we said, the earth is a woman, and I really don't want to see what's gonna happen when she gets mad. Like she's already showing us, but if she keep on getting mad, we probably game over. She probably sick of us. I know how women get. Like it's only a couple strikes that you get. So just doing less to damage the earth, and just also just being a better consumer. Like we can't completely get out of consumerism, but if we just are better consumers, like maybe Shein once a year, if you don't want to cut it all the way down. But Shein every month is crazy to me. Like it's crazy to me. And I just really want my sisters to lean into that, especially if you're doing that yoni work and that womb work, because there's no point in doing that womb work and then popping on them Shein leggings with that lead poisoning. Now you poisoning your womb. What's the point? And that's what I've been seeing a lot. It's like, I'm all for duality, but I'm not for the duality that doesn't make sense. Like you can wear whatever you want, but also what you wear has to not be inflicting pain or trauma into your body. You can do whatever you want to do as long as you're doing it within the balance of my act and you're understanding the universal law. So yeah, that's my Shein rant.
I hear it, and I understand. You know what you're saying. I mean, I'm guilty, but I don't order. Well, I mean, I don't order from Shein like that. But I do have stuff from Shein, right? But seeing that post was an eye opener. I'm like, oh man, there goes Shein. But I don't really, I don't really purchase that stuff anyways. But still, I think it's very necessary. And as you're speaking, it just kind of reminded me how. For one, it's a lack of knowledge. People who purchase most of those kinds of things don't understand the importance of having higher quality clothing, or know where to go to get higher quality clothing, or might not be able to afford it. But I think that it's an eye opener for all of us, especially when it comes to the yoni and putting on pants and jeans, because when you were going through that was the first thing that I thought about. I was like, yeah, so I thank you just for bringing that awareness, because again, I was guilty. So but nonetheless, I think that it's just so important for us to understand and be conscious of everything that we do, what we put on our body, and that we're really in a war zone at all times. They're coming for us in every which way. When it comes to what we watch, what we put on, what we, what I'm saying, it's just so many things that they've had us in a what do you call it? They just had us in a bind, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially, and it's just time for us to break free from those illusions and finally start taking our freedom back and our livelihood back.
I agree. And I think something that's important is like If it seems like it's too good to be true, it probably is. Being able to get 6 outfits for $100, honey, that seems a little too good to be true. So within that, like, just really paying attention, like you said. And then, like, you know, you don't have to be perfect. Like, I love that you were like, I'm guilty of it. Like, a lot of us are guilty of it. That's fine. And once you have the information, that's what's really important. What do you do with the information? Because if you continue to buy Shein and then anything happens to you, then you're like, oh, I don't know what's going on. Then the reality is this. It's just like, do you not know what's going on? And that's why I said, you know, do a heavy metal detox. Like, remove the metals from your body. I have to do a heavy metal detox anyway. Like, we live in a war zone, like you just said. It's pollutants everywhere. This is something we should be doing anyway. I just threw Shein in there, and that made everybody be like, oh no, Shein. It's just like, why y'all rooting for them? They're not giving you any money. So yeah, I'm definitely grateful for the space that I'm in, and then even the elevation, because like I said, for me, this has been a journey. Like, if Shein would have dropped probably 10 years ago, I probably would have fell for it. Everything probably would have been Shein in the crib. But fortunately, I was a rainbow girl. I was the rainbow era.
Me too.
Yeah.
My God, I almost forgot about Rainbow. Jeez.
Rainbow was my
I was up in
thing.
that thing. I promise you.
Legit.
I was up in that thing.
Yeah, definitely. I was a rainbow person too. I actually never purchased anything from she whatever. I don't even know how to say the name. Yeah. But no, the new thing now is not even them. The newest thing is the Tumu. And I ain't gonna lie to you. Tumu got me a little, you know, I like a little deal now. But you're right. You're right. And I'm gonna be more mindful going forward. You know, so I appreciate that for sure, for sure. Can you tell, I guess, let people know, like, how do they connect with you? What services, I guess, they can find when they connect with you? Like, talk to the people, let them know how they can find you, where they can find you.
For sure. So on Instagram, it's at Medimommy, and that's MEDIMOMMI. That's probably the best space, just because I'm more like aware up there. Because Facebook, I love Facebook, but that's really for people that I know. So I'm not as aware up there. But if you want to connect with me on Facebook, it's Maka. Some of the services I offer right now would be private plant medicine ceremonies. And what else do I really offer? Right now, it's like a downtime because it's wintertime, so it's really isolation energy. But I do have an elevation course coming soon. Don't ask me the date, but the elevation course will be about elevating your energy, utilizing plant medicine, and tapping into your higher purpose. And it will assist people to tap into entrepreneurship, travel, and freedom just overall. So I'll be launching that course probably somewhere in the next few months. And then, of course, we have retreats. So I do plant medicine retreats out of the country, usually in Mexico or Jamaica. I have my feminine frequency retreats. And it seems like I'm probably going to be hosting a lot of other retreats or co-hosting a lot of other retreats out of the country. So I'll definitely, be posting about that more and more. I believe that every melanated soul in America should get out the country. Please get out the country. Please get out the country. Although this is also our country, they are robbing us in this country. So if you are a melanated being, it is your duty to get out the country and see how the rest of the world treats you, because the rest of the world treats you like who you are, like a god or goddess. Trust me. I've never been affirmed so much as soon as I step off a plane, baby. So yeah. And so the retreats have always been a great gateway for those that want to travel, but may not have, the capacity, first of all, to plan their own retreats or their own excursions, because I know that can be a lot, especially like transport, and don't want to like travel like a tourist. Like when we do our retreats, it's not a touristy experience. You're going to be speaking to the locals. You're going to be in a spot that locals will only go to. You're not going to be in a fancy villa. Most of the time we're usually in the jungle. It's really nice jungle energy, but you're going to need bug spray. You might see some bugs that you've never seen in your life. You might hear wild birds. I had a lemur bite me actually in our Mexico retreat, but it was a trained lemur. But anyway, these are the experiences you might have, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. Honestly, to see a peacock walk past me while I do yoga is top tier energy, and I really want more melanated beings to tap into it because we deserve it. We deserve all the exotic experiences. So yeah, you guys can find me there. And I hope to, you know, continue to connect and maybe come up here again because this was a good conversation.
Yes, yes, yes. We would love to have you. Go ahead, guys.
Yes, ma'am, of course. Again, you guys, for those who are watching, I would love to have you on with us. We're going to have a Divine Feminine talk at the end of the month, December 28th. That is called Into the Mind of the Celestial Feminine. So we have a few goddesses that are going to be tapping in with us. It's going to be a dope conversation, just pure rawness, pure authenticity, and just pure energy. I'm just super excited about it. So I would love for you to tap in with us. So, just hit me up. Other than that, you guys, thank you guys so much for watching again on Cosmic Connection. Make sure you guys follow us, subscribe on YouTube, follow Ina. She is fire. As you guys already know, the energy is there. Okay, so make sure you guys follow her, tap in with her if you guys would like any of her services. Other than that, you guys, again, thank you guys for checking us out, tapping in, and we shall see you guys next time on Cosmic Connections.
Thank you.
Peace.
Peace out.